The first cup of instant noodles came to the United States in 1971. It would forever change the lives of busy cheapskates around the country. Now, decades later, you'd be hard-pressed to find a college dormitory without stacks of ramen noodles. And on occasion, those young adults will take time away from their bong smoking, keggers, and promiscuous sex to ask, "You tried that?" Here we are. It's episode 7 of You Tried Dat. Hopefully it's going to be lucky 7. I'm Nick Novak here with my pals Chad Hancock.
How's it going?
And Nick Geiger.
Hey there.
Boys, how much do you think you've been putting on the LBs since we started the podcast?
Yes, because of the podcast.
I don't know if I've necessarily been gaining weight, but I definitely have made bigger and bigger ass imprints on my couch. So
Is that how you measure?
yes. Every day I take a ruler to the ass imprint and I just see, okay, it's 3 inches bigger today.
Chad, unlike when you grow up in a house and you see the little lines as they measure them against the wall, Chad just has outlines of his ass on the couch.
That's right. What about you, Novak?
No, well, I definitely... The problem with, today is I just literally ate dinner 20 minutes ago, and now I'm about to eat a bunch of snacks, which I normally wouldn't have eaten, so I think it's impossible to avoid it. But it's all for the sake of our listeners. That's what I feel like. We're doing a good service for other people.
You don't think this is an excuse? You just need to exercise more?
That's probably true. Actually, what do you guys eat healthy on a regular basis, or do you? I know, Chad, you've said this before, that you would exercise so that you could eat like crap.
That's right.
That's still the case?
Yeah, for the most part. I have the life philosophy that I could die at any second, so I might as well enjoy life while I'm here, and that means just shoving as much shit into my mouth as possible. And of course that worked for a really long time, but then I just kept getting fatter and fatter, and so then I realized, I guess I need to exercise. But at the same time, I didn't really want to change my diet, because why be miserable? But I actually have changed my diet a little bit in the last 2 years. I kind of stopped eating cereal as much, because it's pretty much just candy in a bowl to start your day with. Instead, I do some overnight oatmeal now. And I also started eating more salads at lunch. They have a cafe at work that is all salads, and you can make customized salads, so you can actually put good food in it, like little bits of salmon or things like that. So I've been doing that more too, but I still eat like trash for dinner, and then on the weekends we always go to brunch. Like this morning we went, and I ate absolutely awful this morning, so, I'm still the same old Chad.
Yeah, you'll just eat candy in a bowl later in the day?
Yeah, right. I'll pour a bag of M&Ms into a bowl and then just pour it from the bowl directly into my mouth.
And that's a good breakfast.
Geiger, you work in the city, which means you are needing to go out and eat a lot. That's probably makes things pretty tough, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to. That's actually the problem.
I'm giving you an excuse.
No,
take it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I want to get up from my desk and get away. Lunch is a social thing for me. I'll go eat, and there's I work right across the street from a giant train station that's got a food court in it, and I eat way too much of the Popeyes there. So it was sad. There's a Dunkin' Donuts across from our office and a Popeyes, and I went to Popeyes for lunch last week, and I recognized a lady who was working there because she also works at Dunkin' Donuts in the morning, and I'm like, I need to stop coming to both of these places. I'm getting to know her in a person. Oh, hey, what's up, Martha?
She thinks that you're hitting on her, but it just no
and then
man
I showed up at her house for dinner that night. It was really weird.
This guy must like me, because no man could eat this much Dunkin' Donuts and Popeye's chicken.
You don't need to order a 10-piece every time, sir. So the things I've been doing, because I'm out of shape. I used to be like Chad, where my metabolism's so good I could eat whatever I wanted. All through high school, pretty much all through college, I could eat whatever. And then I got office jobs and I became really sedentary, and now I can't. So I've tried to drink more water at work. I don't really drink soda as much. I try to bring lunch more often. It's not always great. And again, bring lunch more often. Half the time I'm bringing leftover meatloaf and mashed potatoes. It's not necessarily healthy, but it's also not Popeyes. And then I'm trying to cut back on beer drinking and only do it on the weekends as opposed to during the week. The problem is then on the weekend, I'm like, it's time to drink some beer. And then I'll just hand it down. Like,
Right.
And you have a beer right now, so
Yes, I do.
the perfect snacking accompaniment, a beer.
Anytime you're going to eat a mint chocolate dessert, you're going to wash it down with a Coors Light. That's what I would say.
I really started limiting the snacking to stuff that I really like. But then we started this fucking podcast, which is but I was snacking so much I got really good with my meals. Like I started baking chicken before on every Sunday night and just eating chicken 5 days a week, chicken and broccoli.
Wow.
And I could do it because lunch would come at work and I'd just be starving. I would eat literally whatever was in front of me. So it worked out, but then I was just filling all that extra time by just getting more snacks. And so now I'm trying to cut that down, but now we're starting this. And so I've just pretty much given up and I've just told the insurance company, fuck it. I'm just going to die at 50.
One day you were standing there cooking a chicken and you just thought, this is a sad life. I'm going to change everything by starting a snacking podcast.
Well, the thing, I will say, because my wife is pretty health conscious, she's gotten really healthy recently. And so we don't have as many crappy snacks in the house as we used to. And then we started podcasting and now suddenly I have all kinds of bags of crappy snacks in the house, which I'm eating all in one sitting during the podcast. So part of it is my self-discipline. I think it's more of if it's not in the house, I can't eat it type stuff. So thanks, Novak. It's your fault.
Speaking of having the snacks in the house, I got the box mailed from Chad a couple of days ago that will fill up, our next few podcasts. And just a mountain of snacks came pouring out of this box. And I was just so strangely happy about it. It's the closest thing that I have to Christmas morning at this point.
I shoved so many snacks in that box. I don't know if you saw the box actually bowed out on the sides. It was one of those priority mail boxes, and it was I actually had to put extra tape on it because I was kind of worried that it wasn't going to hold its structure from mailing it out there. That it was some mailman was going to be carrying it, and it was just going to explode all over him while he was walking down the street, and snacks would go flying.
There were two guys team carrying it in. And I was like, what the?
One on each end. They had weight belts on. Yeah. I will say this has been really handy for justifying buying snacks. I'm like, oh no, I need to get these. It's for the podcast. And so if we could start a podcast for drinking beer and getting laid or something like that, that'd be great. It could be all for the podcast.
How have you been keeping your family from eating? Do you have a special place that you've been putting the snacks, or a shelf that's too high for the kids to reach or something?
It's really not the kids. It's my cat. My cat will smell it and can get to any shelf and will just rip the bag open. So I have to put it really high in my closet where he can't conceivably jump to. The thing is Carl fucking Lewis. He can get wherever he wants. That's a topical reference for the kids.
That's what Carl Lewis is known for?
Yeah, he's high jumping for snacks. That's what he did. Remember that whole Olympic event he did? Where they put a bunch of bugles on a top shelf and he had to go leap up there?
How many times has Betsy caught you just staring at a blank computer screen with a headset on eating snacks and saying, what are you doing? For the podcast.
Oh, it's for the podcast. 2 a.m. she came down. My computer was completely dead and showed a big battery symbol flashing on it. I'm like, podcasting? Yeah, what do you think, Novak? Oh, you like that? Yeah, so do I. You go away.
Is it a piece of paper with my face taped to the screen?
It's a graphing calculator. I was pretending I was on a smartphone.
All right, boys, let's talk about the snacks we got today. Just for a heads up, we didn't do this last episode and probably lost all of our listeners, but we have a 5-point scale, and it starts with a Love Dat, which we don't hand out regularly. You have to really impress us with the snack for a Love Dat. And then a Like Dat is the next step. The middle step is Indifferent to Dat. And then finally Dislike Dat and Hate Dat, which surprisingly, we don't have we handed out more loves or hates? I think loves, actually, right?
It's pretty close. I was looking at the graph that I sadly made after we made a spreadsheet of all of our ratings, and I just really didn't want to work one day, so I turned it into graphs, and it is actually a pretty solid bell curve of our ratings so far. So mostly indifference, and then a lot of likes and dislikes, and then few hates and loves. So
when we were talking about how kind of into this podcast, we were replacing our actual work at our job with planning this podcast. And then when you texted the word graph to me, I just wanted to just open the window and roll out. I'm like, well.
Yeah, Chad, when I got the quarterly prospectus, I was like, oh, wow, this is really on the right trajectory.
Is that because you realized life is all downhill from here? You're like, well, graphs, that's the peak my life will ever be. Might as well just end it.
I need a diversion from my regular job. I need another way out. I know. I'll eat candy bars and make dick jokes. That'll pay off in the long run. I'm doing it anyway.
Our first snack we're going to get into is a ramen snack. So our intro kind of teased that. The company says GGE, and it's called a barbecue cube ramen snack. So it appears to be ramen formed into a tuna can shaped kind of a cube from the front of the package. Do you guys tell me your ramen history? Have you eaten it a lot? Do you not like it? What do you think?
I was never really into ramen, in college, which I think is when a lot of people eat, top ramen and stuff like that. I never really got into that. I got into ramen after college when I started getting really into Japanese food. But that wasn't the instant ramen. It was like real ramen that's actually tastes good.
Right.
And now I fucking love ramen. It's so great. If you ever go to Japan, you can go into literally like any subway station or like the basement of like almost any building, and there's just like a bomb-ass ramen place just down there, like everywhere you look.
Any building?
I was trying not to laugh at the bomb-ass reference.
So I'm very excited about these snacks. I think these have potential.
I love ramen too. Actual ramen, like Chad was talking about, is fantastic. I've become really, really into it. In fact, the place I got these snacks at Mitsuya, as we mentioned before, I had some ramen there that was awesome. Probably not like Japanese Subway ramen, but really good. In college, I ate a lot of the cheap ramen. I was broke as shit, so I needed whatever I could get my hands on. I also embarrassingly did not know how to make it the first 2 times I used it. So like I didn't read the package at all. So I just boiled the noodles, rinsed them, and then sprinkled the little packet of what I thought was seasoning on them. And so I ate them like, these are salty as fuck. Like they were like so intensely seasoned. As I'm eating them, the salt, like the seasoning is like crunching in my teeth. This is gross. And then I one time read the package. I'm like, oh, it's like a soup. So,
is that in the top 5 whitest things you've ever done?
Sadly, no. No. In Wisconsin, that's called like still being pretty Asian, I think. That's like...
The fact that you even bought the ramen to begin with.
Eating top ramen in Wisconsin makes you Asian. I had to use a different qualification in my senses.
Not being able to read the package is pretty Wisconsin, though.
You mean being too cool for instructions? No one's going to tell me.
He means being illiterate.
No, back you a ramen guy? Or no? You ever have any in college? Eating it.
In college, I did some of the instant. Just I don't know if it was out of laziness or what. I mean, it tasted fine. It was never great, and I usually just stuck to I feel like that chicken flavor was kind of the main. What would be the original kind of one? So I went up and down with ramen, but nothing that I have no long history with it.
Have you had real ramen before?
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, it's, just, these things are a lot smaller than
I was just about to say that. They're like maybe dime size, except thicker. Maybe 5 dimes stacked on top of each other. I was expecting them from the package to be more like the size of a quarter or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But either way, I hope they taste money!
Ooh.
Smell the aroma.
Very crunchy.
Microphone crunching.
Now, I'm not really getting the barbecue, are you guys?
It's very subtle.
A little bit. Yeah. It tastes vaguely of like a Lay's barbecue chip.
Yeah, a little bit.
What do you make of the consistency? I mean, it really does kind of taste like if I just bit into that instant ramen cube, the rectangle they put in the package.
It kind of tastes like the way I made my ramen. I just needed to form it into cubes.
It is like a bunch of hard-dried noodles kind of almost like glued together in some way.
Yeah, it's a little
I could snack on these.
Half a bag's only 190 calories too, which is that good? I have no idea.
Half a bag?
Well, because the serving size is half a bag, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's good.
No, because I'm going to eat the whole bag.
Because I'm on my second bag. I think the flavor is pretty decent. The consistency is a little off-putting to me. Once you bite it, it kind of explodes into a million different little pieces, and that's just not like a mouthfeel that I enjoy.
When you eat a potato chip, does it just remain solid the entire time you chew on it?
Well, yeah, each piece is like a little tiny worm in itself. You know, like they're already It's not like various size chunks. It's like I bit into a worm's egg, and a bunch of 1,000 baby worms now exploded across.
What the hell?
First of all, I think you need to understand how worms reproduce. I don't think they lay eggs. But it's not going to evolve. All right, well, that's one analogy we can go with.
All right, Geiger, what do you think of these worms' eggs?
I am not going to call them worms' eggs. These are good. I agree that the barbecue flavor was not that present. It tastes vaguely of barbecue, but not, I think, what we're used to eating, like barbecue snacks, at least here in the States. So maybe it's just like that's their version of barbecue. I don't know. But I have no problem with the consistency. To me, it's no different than cracking open any other snack. I chew it up and whatever. I think they're good. They're like they're probably more dense of a snack than I would eat. Like I would eat handfuls of a chip because they're light and crunchy, but like a snack like this that's harder and crunchier and like thicker, I think I would have a hard time eating a bunch of. So but I like these. I would definitely eat these. This is a solid like that for me. These are good.
All right, Chad, we got one like that. What do you think?
These are probably the tastiest worms eggs I've ever had. Yeah, I think these are pretty good. You know, the barbecue, I think we talked about when we talked about chips that barbecue flavor was kind of none of our favorite flavors. And I think that is true here too. I wish these were something else. I don't know what. I mean, it would be weird to be like sour cream and onion ramen snack, maybe, but I don't know, maybe not. I don't have a problem with the consistency. To me, I just wish the flavor was a little bit better, but I could definitely eat this entire bag. I think these are very good. So, like that.
Well, my thought on these worms eggs are known a little bit already. I'm trying a few more just to hammer it out between an indifferent and a dislike. And the more I eat, now that I've made all these worms eggs cracks, the worse they're kind of tasting to me. But I also am going to downgrade it a little because it says barbecue and there's almost no barbecue flavor to be found. So to me, that is a ding on its performance. I could see myself just eating them mindlessly, I guess, but
like
they were sitting there. I wouldn't recommend them, and I won't go back to eat them. So I'm gonna just barely slide it into a dislike, just based on the fact that I'm gonna have that flavor miscue, slide it down to the dislike.
So you would not crack these worms eggs into your mouth?
I would rather eat it than a real worm's egg. Which
don't knock it till you try it.
Thank God you'll never get the chance because it's not an actual thing.
Shut up, nerd.
I don't know anything about worms. I don't know how they get more worms to come out of their bodies, but I know it's not. Do they fuck? Do worms fuck?
This is not a science podcast.
Novak.
But we do talk about
worms
insects
fuck
fucking, so I mean...
Yes.
I am not putting "do worms fuck" in my Google search history.
Alexa, do worms fuck?
Wait, how do worms reproduce? They just...
Isn't it like you cut a worm in half and now it's two worms?
Right. All right.
Just asexual reproduction, I thought.
You guys continue. I'm going to Google this. I'll be the science division of You Tried Dat.
All right.
So overall for the ramen snack, we have 2 likes and a dislike. It's going to put us sort of in the middle, which sets a nice little bar for the overall showing here. And while Geiger's finding out how worms reproduce, what'd you find?
All right, guys. Worms totally fuck.
Oh.
They are simultaneous hermaphrodites, meaning worms have both male and female reproductive organs.
They
During
fuck
sexual
themselves?
intercourse, both sets of sex organs are used by both worms. That sounds confusing. If all goes well, the eggs of both the mates become fertilized.
They do have eggs.
I guess so, but no, they don't lay eggs though. Like they're eggs inside their bodies, like, and then they give birth to worms.
I see.
That's what I was talking about.
That's
the
fertilized worm egg. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
That's what I was talking about.
Right.
Actually, hearing you talk about this makes I want to downgrade these even more.
Wow.
These have nothing to do with worms.
Clear, they're not worms.
These are not actual worms.
I think we need to eradicate the entire earth of worms after hearing that disgusting.
Worms like to get down. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, worms would not like the way that humans reproduce, so who are you to judge?
Worms were the original swingers.
Oh, did you? I definitely had to dissect a worm at some point. I don't know if you guys had to. In the science class, it was just literally pinning a worm open, and it was just full of mush.
A worm and a frog we had to do.
We did frog. I don't think we did worm.
I dissected a worm, and there was barbecue ramen snack inside.
Did you eat it? You tried that? Wow, I'm getting terrible at marketing this podcast. I had an opening right there.
All right, let's slide over to a first here for You Tried Dat, and that's the beef jerky.
Oh boy.
Now, beef jerky is a incredibly popular snack, which we have not touched on. We've done a number of chips and chocolate desserts, but nothing in the beef jerky realm. And I'm going to take a stab here just from knowing you guys. But Geiger, I think you're probably the most beef jerky eating of the three of us. You have a history with beef jerky, right?
I love me some jerky. I often, for me, it's like a good, like if I don't want to eat something greasy or like crappy, even though I don't even know what the calorie content is, but at least it feels like I'm just eating actual protein. Like gas stations, like on a road trip, I'll grab some jerky. It's another thing I take on my fishing trips, so have at it, guys. But we also
you loser going fishing with your friends.
So when I'm not dunking Cheez-Its into the water to catch a fish, I use jerky. I love jerky. Now normally I eat the right. The reason I wanted to pick this one out is because it's a different flavor that I normally wouldn't try. This is sweet Chipotle jerky from Krave. Normally I would just eat the regular straight up like peppered beefsteak or whatever.
If you look at the back, there is a sweet and spicy meter where there's like arrows pointing to sweet and spicy and then a guy running along the top for some reason. And he is more on the spicy, I'd say maybe about a third of the way from the middle to the spicy part, which doesn't bode well for my rating of this thing.
They don't smell that spicy, but...
Yeah.
Now, I looked into Krave a little bit because it's kind of a newer company, and I was thinking it was going to have some kind of Justin-style story of Justin's peanut butter, and it really just was clearly like some people who came up with a company to make a bunch of money, if you can imagine such a thing. But
these fucking hippies.
It just seemed very corporate, so less hippie-ish than I thought.
Yeah.
When did the Krave family first decide to start making jerky?
Bobby Krave was the guy who started this. All right, let's bite into this. This is the sweet Chipotle flavored one. I'm
generally not a fan of jerky. I find it annoying to eat.
What about it? Consistency or?
Yeah, just like I don't like that it's tough and chewy and, it's like too chewy sometimes. It's just annoying. Well, we'll see how this goes.
It's definitely got a little kick to it. It's not overwhelming.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Geiger, what are you as a jerky connoisseur?
As a jerk? That's it. That's all I got. You're a jerk.
I own it.
How does this seem compared to what you usually eat?
Not quite as good. It's too sweet for me, actually. The spice does not bother me at all, the kick. When you were like, oh, there's the kick, that's too much, I was like, what kick? I was like amazed that was too much. But
some pieces are worse than others because I ate a whole piece and felt almost nothing. And then another piece was burning my throat a bit. So
in order to get a true rating, we'll probably have to eat every piece in the bag and average them out, right?
So you guys it'll be just some chewing for about 10 minutes while we...
Let me knock through this jerky.
Go ahead and fast forward 10 minutes in the podcast. You won't miss anything.
Sweet. We can say what we really think. It's just too sweet. I'm more of a savory person than a sweet anyway, and especially with jerky, I'm expecting more like that seasoned, like peppery kind of taste. This isn't bad at all. It's just a little sweet.
Chad, have you ate enough to get some really spicy pieces?
I only ate one piece, and I'm done. Yeah, it was a little... My tongue is like kind of burning. It's a little uncomfortable right now. I don't know if I got a piece that's too spicy or not, but yeah.
All right, well, since we can probably gauge what you're going to say here, let's start with you.
Love dat. No, these
Don't steal my gimmick.
Since Krave is one of our sponsors.
These were an uphill battle for me to begin with. They were always going to be tough. The sweetness doesn't work for me with the meat. The Chipotle doesn't work for me. The jerky doesn't work for me.
I hate the color orange.
I'm going to go hate dat. I'm
Ooh.
going to dish out the hate dat. Yeah.
I'm a little proud you just went hate because I felt like we've been a little nice on going hate. Like we're waiting for something that we literally can't swallow to say hate. So
Yeah, I hate that. I don't want to. I'll never eat that again. So hate that.
all right, I'll go. My rating has changed the more I've eaten here, and it's actually gone down a bit because the heat is just a little too much. I didn't think it was too bad at the beginning, but I want to have more jerky, but it's just the heat's kind of taken away. And I agree, Geiger, the sweetness, it's not what I look for in a piece of beef jerky. It's too sweet, and the heat's a bit too much, so it's kind of missing on a couple different fronts. And I'm okay with beef jerky. I'll eat it on occasion, but this I would more than likely not get off a shelf or not recommend. So I'm not going to go as low as Chad. I don't hate it, but I am going to go a dislike dat. Geiger, we can count on you to like every food we eat.
What's the highest rating? 2 above that. No, I am first of all just stunned that this is too hot for you guys. We got a couple of Nancys on this
It's not
podcast.
too hot. It's unnecessarily, I don't know. I don't feel like I like heat when it adds something to it, and I don't feel like it's necessarily doing that.
Weirdly enough, I don't notice the heat, and then when I'm not eating, like right now after I finally stopped eating the jerky, like 10 pieces in, now like just sitting here in a neutral state, my tongue does feel a little like heated up. To me though, like I said, it was more the sweetness is too much. I like jerky a lot. I would never pick this again. I don't hate it.
We're waiting.
I dislike that.
Oh!
Wait, that wasn't my line. Chad, edit that out. Yeah, it's not really what I'd ever choose again. Love that. No, it's a dislike. I was almost an indifferent, but I don't hate it, but I don't know, wouldn't get it again.
All right. Well, that actually was shocking to me. I was looking forward to eating it, and it's got one of our lowest ratings that we've dished out, which is 2 dislikes and a hate. That's saved for what? That's below edamame region.
It's below edamame and like within shouting distance of Handy Snacks, which is a howling food from the inferno. So
2 down in the ramen snack, slightly ahead, and we're hoping to get a welcome visitor here late in the game. But before we get there, we're gonna head to a new segment, and Chad's gonna head it up.
All right, so this is a segment we're calling You Asked Dat. And so this is where we take listener emails or listener questions or whatever, and then use your input to help fuel the content of this amazing rocket ship known as You Tried Dat. All right, so here's our first email. So this comes from a listener named Joe Justice out of Washington, D.C. And Joe writes, "Hey guys, longtime listener. In the last episode, you talked about food challenges. That had me wondering if you've ever performed any food-related pranks on other people, or had any performed on you. Thanks and love the podcast, Joe." Thanks for your question, Joe. I don't know, what do you guys think?
And Geiger and I were talking about this earlier. We all had worked at Lone Star, and apparently what constitutes a prank to Nick Geiger is picking up food that's fallen on the floor and serving it to an unknown customer.
What?
Gotcha. No, I didn't even see that happen, to be clear. I was just trying to think of like, as I was trying to rack my brain for pranks, I was also thinking of like we all worked at that restaurant, like Nick said. There might have been some funny or gross story from that, but that would not qualify.
Yeah, I don't think fucking with customers' food is a prank.
It's kind of just a dick move.
Right.
It was hilarious. I spit in this guy's food.
I think that's called illegal.
Yeah, but anyway, did you see that?
And you guys know the story. I at lunch in high school went to open a package of French fries. These are things that have a rotating serving system where it's a big metal wheel that goes to the kitchen and then comes out, and you can take whatever's on the wheel, and if it goes by untaken, it will circle back to the kitchen and keep going. So theoretically, somebody could put something on the wheel and have it come back around looking like it came out of the kitchen. And so I took this prepackaged fry and opened it up, and there was a frog's leg from the biology lab in the fries about halfway down. So I had eaten probably 8 to 10 fries and then noticed what I thought was a blackened fry, but this fry had like 4 tentacles on the end of it. So needless to say, I didn't eat fries for a while after that.
Did you actually bite into it?
No, I did not. I do look at the food right before I put it in my mouth. I'm mindlessly tossing things into my mouth.
I'm now wondering how many frog legs I've eaten in my life. I have no idea.
I had eaten 8 or 10, and I realized it was entirely frog's legs. And I was in the biology lab eating frogs.
And by biology lab, you mean you were actually in a swamp?
My feet, I was wet up to the knees. And I was like, what kind of cafeteria?
I have a similar story from high school. Well, not really similar. There was no frog legs. Anyways, but it was in high school cafeteria. So I had this brilliant idea that I was going to play a prank. You know how they sell the milk cartons, the little like pint-sized milk cartons or whatever, paper
Right.
milk cartons. So my idea was it'd be pretty funny to sort of wedge one underneath the lunch table in such a way that it would hold up the weight of the lunch table, and then when somebody came and sat down, then their extra weight would cause the milk carton to splatter like all over their legs. So I thought this was a pretty fun idea because I was just a fucking dipshit. But anyway, so I go and get the milk carton and I lifted up the edge of the table, which was, one of those big long like picnic style tables that they had in our cafeteria. And just underneath the corner of one of the legs, I put the milk carton and then slowly lowered the table down on top of it and then let go of the table. And of course, the milk carton was in no way able to withhold the weight of the table. So the table just came smashing through the milk carton, and the milk splattered all over my legs and feet. So yeah, that just shows that I was really stupid in high school, and I haven't gotten any smarter since then.
Gagger, what do you got?
Not much. I mean, I think the other thing close I can think of is it was an inadvertent prank, I'll say. So I think in 7th and 8th grade in the summers there, I had to take summer school. Like, I shouldn't say had to. Summer school is for remedial class, which I didn't need to do. But there was other classes you could take that were just like fun, and my mom wanted me to get out of the house. So it was like nature science. You'd go in the creek and catch animals and stuff. And then there's like a swimming class. And then there was a meal magic, they called it, where you could go cook. And like, I thought that was cool. I get to learn how to make stuff. And they did this one recipe to try to like teach you the value of like paying attention to measurements. The whole recipe was just pinch of that and some of this and dash of that, and then we see what everyone comes up with. And it was supposed to be for brownies. And I was paired with this complete asshole who like was basically a dropout and didn't care about anything, even in 7th grade, even though he was at an optional meal magic class.
He's a meal magic dropout?
he didn't complete he didn't get his magician's badge like I did.
Yeah, it's like, I don't believe in magic. I'm a meal muggle.
And he's now a CEO. No, but anyway, so we made this brownie, and it said like a dash of salt into the brownie recipe, and he poured a fuck ton of salt in there, and I didn't even realize it. So he told me later. So we made it. He also slammed the oven door like 3 times, so it was flat as a pancake. And you take it out, you take a bite. It looks what? When something's rising, like when you're baking. When something's supposed to rise, if you open the oven door and slam it, apparently, like it.
Okay, I didn't know that
happens. So it was like wafer thin, and you cut out a slice of this delicious-looking golden, crispy brown brownie, and you bite in, and it tastes like pure salt. And it was like I spit it out immediately, and then could not wait to give it to everyone else. So I brought it home, like, "Oh, Mom, I worked really hard on this brownie. Give it a shot." And then she'd try it, and she'd be like, "Oh, yeah, no, it's good." Like, trying really hard. And I'm like, "It's all salt." I start cracking up. She's like, So I inadvertently used it to prank people, but it wasn't on purpose originally.
You skipped the part of the story where that guy kicked your ass, too.
And then right. And then I was like, "What the fuck is all this salt?" And poured an entire bottle of salt down my mouth. I shat salt for a week. We did actually get in a fight. grade.
That's separate of this brownie
Yeah,
incident?
no, we had mended fences by the time Meal Magic came around, but we were he was held back a grade and he kicked the shit on me. I was small and not good at fighting. I think the fight consisted of 3 pushes, and then he picked me up and dropped me on my knee, and I just laid there moaning for the rest of recess. Anyway,
Jeez.
That's really sad.
and then I spent the rest of my life honing my body, waiting to meet him again.
Hopefully he's listening.
And I hope he's listening, and I hope he's really a pacifist now. 'Cause
I'm coming for you, you son of a bitch. I actually pulled a prank on these guys one time where they were going fishing. I replaced all their all their Cheez-Its with cheese nips. And they came back. They still, to this day, thought it was just a bad catch that time. But no.
I remember they caught all these garbage fish because only a garbage fish would eat a fucking cheese nip.
I also saw those a bunch of the fishermen were kicking this one fisherman's ass for some reason. It was really...
They were repeatedly throwing him into the lake. And then the fisherman would turn around and be like, "You should have taken Meal Magic!" And just screaming at them angrily, right? I remember that.
So you still go fishing with that guy, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's he holds me under the water until I'm able to grab a fish. He pulls me back out.
He makes sure it's salt water, and he's like, "Doesn't this water taste like brownies? Huh? Doesn't it?"
He fills your mouth with Cheez-It, sticks your head underwater, all the Cheez-Its come rushing out, the fish come flying up, and he puts them in a net.
I mean, it's only fair. I am going to use his name. It's my dad. Sorry, Dad. Out in the open. You kicked the shit out of me in 3rd grade. Came to my school and beat me up.
Forced your way into my 7th grade Meal Magic class.
Took Meal Magic for some reason. Was my partner. Ruined the brownies and yet still ate them when I brought them home later.
Fed them to our mom.
All right, well, thanks for your question, Joe. So if you have a question for You Asked Dat, send it to us, youtrydat@gmail.com, and maybe we'll read your question on a future episode.
All right, boys, it's time for dessert, and we've got a nice looking treat here. I'm pretty excited about this one. This one is a Mint Oreo chocolate candy bar. It has a big new on there, so I've never seen this in the store.
Have you seen the regular? I've had the regular, not the mint.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, I've seen the regular. I haven't had the regular. I've seen it. How good is the regular? Good or not good?
The regular is good. I would give the regular a like that, but it is not as good as just eating straight up regular Oreos. Like, I'd rather eat a handful of 30 or 40 Oreos than one of those bars. I mean, 3 or 4 Oreos, because that's how many I eat in a sitting.
How do you... I personally am a big chocolate mint fan. Things like Andy's Mints and Frango Mints and any chocolate mint I like quite a bit. How do you guys feel about chocolate mint?
I love it. My favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip. I think mint is like a really refreshing flavor to go with chocolate. I'm a huge fan. I'm all in.
I don't like mint at all, except for brushing my... It reminds me of brushing my teeth, and that's kind of the only time I want that mint flavor. Maybe, if anybody can convince me to like mint, it's Oreo, which is one of my favorite brands.
It smells delicious. I've cracked it open. I've just been holding it to my nose. This is the most I ever smell food, is waiting to... I'm waiting for you guys to finish sentences, just waving it under my nose.
I'm holding it under my nose, and now I'm snorting it like cocaine.
It's a way for us to make what we're doing feel like classy. Like, oh yeah, the bouquet of this Oreo candy bar I grabbed in the checkout counter at the Julasco is really effervescent.
I'm sensing notes of oakiness in it.
I'm sensing notes of mint.
I like to consider us candy sommeliers. What is that word for wine losers?
You said it right. That's correct. Sommelier.
I just call them wine losers. 'Cause wine is stupid.
Here's a tip. When you use a big word, don't immediately ask if that's the right word. And 2, don't call those people losers. That's not nice. For any sommeliers listening to the show, A, I am shocked. And B... Or you would find, here's what I think about nut butter.
Have you
And
no
C,
dignity?
just roll yourselves out a window, because your life is pointless if all you ever do is taste wine.
This is probably not a surprise that a podcast of 3 guys eating snacks repeatedly are not incredibly large wine lovers either. So I think I've bitten in a few times already.
I like that
And-
it's broken into segments that you can just snap one off and eat it.
Yeah, I feel like that is a good design. So there's 6 basically like humps,
My humps.
and they easily break at each one so that you could eat them one at a time. So I think that's pretty ingenious design there. That they're just little, they break off easier than say the Hershey bar rectangle, which if you want one Hershey bar rectangle, you can't. I mean, you got to take 3. You can't take 1.
Yep.
But that's a pretty good design.
I mean, you can, but then you're basically like a loser. That's right. I'm calling everybody losers, dishing out the hot takes today.
I also want you to finish singing My Humps only with Oreo lyrics.
Did
you guys know this is made with Alpine milk?
What?
Never mind. I didn't know you were going to do it. Continue. On the back it says
Alpine
made
milk?
with Alpine milk, which I have no idea what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either. Oh yeah, it is. It's got like a little circle that's really showing. What is that? Some old timey milk jug?
Milk fat and non-fat milk ingredients only. So, both fat and non-fat? Isn't that everything?
We only use all types of milk.
All right, I haven't started us off yet. I'll get us moving on this. I am enjoying it quite a bit, and I'm actually enjoying it, I say, slightly more than I thought I would. I was kind of concerned that the inside would be too cookie-ish. I don't usually like candy bars that are cookie versions of them, like the cookie M&M and things like that. And this nicely is not all that cookie-ish. The middle green, it's like kind of a green and little cookie chunks in it, is kind of softer, which is nice. It's not amazing, but I definitely am enjoying it. I'm going to go with a really strong liked it. All right, Geiger, what do you think?
I mean, I picked this out for a reason. I love mint and chocolate. I love Oreos. This reminds me of, you guys remember a cookie? I don't feel like I've seen it in a long time, but we used to have them all the time when we were kids called grasshoppers. They're basically like mint Oreos. Yeah. Yep. And I loved them. I loved them as a kid. This basically, to me, tastes exactly like a grasshopper with a little bit of chocolate on top.
Yeah,
like the mint is the exact same type of flavor.
Yep.
And for that reason alone, I love that. I would grab this any old time. This would be a go-to snack for me. That's right.
Whoa!
For that very
Holy
reason,
shit!
I fucking hate it.
Stop the presses!
We need to have one of those like terrible like morning DJ like 5 alarm thing goes off in the background like
It took us. It took us weeks of badgering you to finally get a dislike of something, and now I feel like you might just be overcorrecting. Maybe you.
Yeah,
You
my
feel so
overwhelming
bad about
guilt about slightly disliking beef jerky it led me to swing the entire other way. No, I love this stuff. This is really good. I love that. Chad, am I correct in assuming I know what you're going to say?
I think you're gonna be blocking this from the welcome. You're gonna be blocking a welcome visitor who's waiting at the door.
I can't invite this candy bar into my fucking house for dinner.
Well, it can't get welcome. Didn't we decide welcome visitor it has to be exactly 3 likes?
That's right.
So, yeah, so it can't get it anyway. So Geiger spoiled that. So downgrade your rating, Geiger.
No.
Okay. Here's the thing. I actually... What?
Like you're really set it to like you're about to dump us or something like that.
Look,
Look,
it's not you, it's the candy bar. It's actually not bad. I ate half of it, which is I ate 2 more squares. I ate 3 squares, which is 2 more squares than I expected to eat. This is not. I can't decide. It's somewhere
That's your
between
rating.
indifferent, but I also kind of like that.
This is why we get paid the big bucks. You got to make the decisions.
All right, fine. Fuck you guys. All right, I'm gonna go like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We need that. What is that sound effect called?
Like air horn.
All right. Well, this
Big winner
gets
to end
2
here.
likes and a love. The last.
It's just my brand loyalty. It's because it's Oreo. If it was like, Geiger Inc. bar, I would probably not like it as much.
If your own friend made the chocolate bar,
I gotta be
You like
honest.
it?
I'd just be suspicious. I'd be like, is this something you shit out, or did you actually? Because you don't have a candy factory.
If I made shit that tasted like this, I wouldn't be sitting here, my friend.
Where would you be sitting?
I don't know, selling my shit up here.
You'd be sitting right on top of a candy conveyor belt.
Yeah,
You'd just be shitting it out, and a machine would be wrapping
be
it
at
up
some
and selling it.
strange Willy Wonka factory hooked up to a shit extractor.
You wouldn't even be able to make enough to sell anyway. I don't think that would be true.
Just give me a bunch of milk. Anyway, this got weird, but yeah, no, I'm just glad I thought you were going to be an automatic hate that when in the previous episode you mentioned you didn't like mint, and I was like, oh man, he's going to hate this candy bar.
There is the mint is the mint is just like a little. Well, whatever.
So do you even hate mint as a toothpaste flavor? Because I know they make like cinnamon and fruit or whatever
No, I love
flavored.
mint as a toothpaste flavor. That's what I use, and so it's like, oh, I'm like brushing my teeth. I'm not eating my toothpaste.
So mint
You actually
julep,
like this thing?
jelly, nothing else.
Sometimes we make like a salmon dish that has like a mango mint salsa, but it's just like sort of like a little hint of mint. I hate when I unintentionally rhyme. All right, moving on.
So you do actually like this thing because
I do.
This is very
I do.
begrudging.
I mean, I didn't want to, but I ate half the bar, so like, that says something. I kind of want to eat the rest, but I'm like full. And plus, I should probably save some for my wife. She really wanted to try it.
I hate to break it to you, but if that's what we're using as a judgment, then I loved everything we've eaten so far.
Yeah, I think we've rounded into that Geiger. You are being known as the guy who I think most of the sponsors would be seeking because you're gonna really like their food. You're like the Krusty the Clown, like with quotes all over the back of every package.
I am completely for sale. If
That's
anyone wants
the
to,
thing. Like, Geiger's a sellout. I feel like I've been trying to stay true to my integrity, and like, after giving this thing a like that, now I just want to roll out a window.
Well, but there is like a good high percentage of your body that is actually Oreo at this point in your life. So
Right. Also, the window right here is on the ground floor, so rolling out of it wouldn't really do anything.
you're just slumping one foot onto the ground.
Yeah, basically.
So the clear winner this week was the Oreo, and we just look like a bunch of morons again. Telling people to go buy an Oreo candy bar.
We're endorsing the same three companies every week. Nabisco, yep, Nabisco again. Frito-Lay, and go fuck yourselves. Anyone else?
Yep, pretty much.
So go get the Mint Oreo Candy Bar, and we'll be back next time with 3 new snacks for you to try, and that's about it. Thanks, boys.
Deuces.
See ya.